Hey everybody, Dr. Chris Perron here in Western Virginia. Uh, Common themes that have been coming up at the office that I wanted to touch base and share a little bit more about to try to help give some clarity where there isn't a lot, and I know that's in short order nowadays. So hopefully this helps. The first thing is case numbers. Case numbers for coronavirus. It seems like it'd be pretty simple, but there's a little bit more to it than apparently a lot of people understand. And the main thing with the case numbers is that the cases currently are based on number of people that have tested positive with the actual blood test, which obviously that part makes sense. And that's about it. So it's a pretty low number, believe it or not, compared to what reality is. Obviously, everybody was told at the beginning, and appropriately, if you don't feel good, basically stay home unless there's some sort of emergency where you needed to seek the hospital help. And then that's usually when a test would come in. Also, there weren't many tests for quite a long time. New virus, new test, it takes time, and that's just currently kind of, I think it was just lifted this week that generally to test about anybody that comes into a hospital is the idea anyway. So very recent. So a lot of people who had coronavirus have coronavirus, were never tested, won't ever be tested, and fine, right? But the only thing is that you got to keep that in mind when we look at case numbers. And why that's important is it's put in comparison to, unfortunately, a number of people who have passed away as a result of coronavirus. Now that number is based on obviously anybody who's passed away. Unfortunately, it's pretty obvious when that happens, but determining the cause of death, obviously a positive blood test is the main way. But there's thousands of people, when you look at the numbers as well, that fall in a category of presumed that they had it. So the doctor determined in their opinion, based on presentation of symptoms and so on, that they believe that they probably had it, and so they get put in there too. So it's fine. I'm actually fine with however they want to do it, except for when it comes to trying to figure out what the danger of coronavirus really is, the mortality rate. So when you have a number of deaths that's basically estimated on the high side because of the presumed people added into it, and then you have the case number, which is what it's then divided by, on the pretty much lowest possible level, then it's going to make the percentage a lot higher than what it is. And I think that's generally accepted, but not really well known from what I can tell. The handful of antibody tests that have just started to roll out, very, very new. But like New York City, they estimated that about 10 times at least the number of people have had coronavirus versus the number of positive cases. In Miami, University of Miami did a test down in Miami, Florida, and they estimated about 16 and a half times the number of positive cases by testing. And then, of course, you might have heard of the tests out in California with Stanford as well as Southern Cal. And Stanford's estimated up to 50 to 80 times the amount. All tests are not confirmed to be perfect, as none of this is yet. But let's go with the 10 times, right? The New York, the low end on New York, actually. And so if you did it that way, then it would take what would be right now, currently today, a 5.8% mortality rate based literally on the numbers, and it would take it down to 0.58. So obviously that's a big difference. It's still bad, but there's a big difference when it comes to just maybe what our mentality is and our approach individually and family-wise to approaching this. So I just wanted to keep in mind what those numbers have behind them, because that's what makes them count, and that's what literally makes them count, right? The other one is mitigation. Recently, it's been talked about more and more. The goals seem to have changed. When it all started with quarantining and mitigation, the whole idea was to flatten the curve, as we've all heard that term, plenty by now, and for good reason. But all of a sudden it changed, like we're going to defeat the virus. That could be like a rallying cry, but it's not a literal term. Being at home doesn't make the virus die. It doesn't make it go away. It helps us to avoid it in the meantime. And unfortunately, it's still there when we go out. And that's why the original goal, which is appropriate and at least made sense, is that to flatten the curve meant to spread out the number of people that may, and they felt then, needed to seek hospital care. Again, excellent reason. We do not want to obviously run into a situation where people are basically passing away simply because there wasn't a bed to get care from. So from all signs, we've done really well with that, which is obviously good. These are all good things. But it's kind of all of a sudden shifted into we need to do it to defeat the virus. And by scientists' world, it's an impossible thing. Viruses need to run their course. Does it buy us some time as well, as far as them trying out different drug combos and so on? Sure, obviously, and that would be great. Vaccine, whole nother story. We'll get into that. It's going to be a year minimum, and even then, like I said, we'll get into that when that comes, but I think it'll be a moot point by then, and hopefully it's a moot point by then, right? The other one I wanted to point out really big is the masks. Again, I'm fine. I wanted you all to know why or why not to wear one, when to wear one, basically what's the purpose. And I think most of you grasped that, but just to reiterate real quick, the highlights, the masks that we make at home do not protect the person wearing it. If it does, it's minimal. I mean, really minimal. What it does is it keeps your air, your wetness from basically getting on somebody else, especially with a cough or a sneeze, certainly. So that's the purpose, and perfectly good and valid purpose to help out our neighbors. But the big thing is that you need to wash them. I know it's been said that they should be washed daily. Not so sure how many people are doing that or not, but that's a really big deal. I want you to look at it as wearing underwear. Yeah, exactly. We'll go there. Is that you're breathing into it all day or whatever amount of time you're breathing in. We breathe out several times a minute. And so anything that leaves our body on purpose is waste. Our body wants to get rid of it. It's not something we want. That's why we're getting rid of it. And so it's really important to clean them. Otherwise, it can become kind of gross, and not just in a gross way, but in a health way. So make sure that you're cleaning the masks regularly, particularly the more you wear them, obviously, the more you want to clean them. One idea also to pass along is that the masks that we can make for ourselves at home, they don't need to be snug. And the reason I say that is that if you have a mask that's really covering your face up really good, we're not surgeons. Again, they're not protecting us from what's coming in. That's kind of where you want a snug mask. But in this case, it's protecting from what goes out. So something like a bandana, for instance, would be ideal, because therefore there's more air circulation, so that you're actually getting more fresh air. That would be good, depending again on how much somebody wears one or not. But the more you wear one, the more you got to make sure you're not wearing one too, as far as get some fresh air, get outside, and so on. So that's important. It's not a minor thing. It's true. There's studies on that in the past, way before Corona time, that show that with surgeons for extended surgeries, how they would actually become oxygen deprived at times. Kind of a big issue if you're doing a 10-hour surgery, for instance. So you want to make sure you're cleaning them up. And then the last thing, I actually want to thank several of you, and plenty of you to come, but I appreciate all the stories that have been shared already. Many have. It's only been a few days, and we appreciate all of them. And we hope to be able to spread the word as much as possible of how to be healthy, and ways to do it. Chiropractic's one piece of it. It's certainly not the whole thing. And what we want to do, though, is I want to support people being in that really high percentage of not likely to run into trouble, and not just coronavirus, this time. There's always stuff out there. This one is a bigger one, obviously, than norm, but there's always stuff. And our chances of being healthy, remaining healthy, some cases living through challenges, it really is contingent upon what our general health is. And so we want to make sure that, or I want to make sure, and I think you guys agree, that we can help people to be as healthy as they can be. So no matter what the challenge that comes by, we're better suited for it, and therefore we're better suited to make it through much better than otherwise. All right, that's all I got for now. I look forward to seeing you all soon, and I appreciate all the feedback. And again, as always, any questions you have, any curiosities, feel free to throw them at me. I'm happy to research into them and take a look and see what I might be able to do for clarification. Take care. Bye now.